The first time I met Kristen, we were in a caf. I was sitting at the table. We were all laughing, eating, joking, having fun, having a good time. And then I got thirsty. So I went to the pop machine, and she was there. So I got some pop, she got some pop. Then she was like, "Hi, I'm Kristen." And before I could catch myself, I blurted out, "You sound like a white girl." Why I said it, where it came from, who knows. But I was just hurt because she was hurt. So I came out here one night to reflect on it. And I really wanted to know where I got this mentality from. So I did a little research, and I came across this black philosopher by the name of Genevieve Smitherman. Now, she had this theory that African American English, and this is a really, really brief synopsis of it. She had this theory that the African American English origins originated from Africans themselves. When they came over here from the Middle Passage, the Europeans stripped them of everything: their identity, their way of living, their language, their religion, and they forced their customs upon them. Africans, they tried their best to make the Europeans' way of life their own. For instance, language, they took the European form of English and they broke it, they rearranged it, they slurred things in order to gain some of their identity back. And Smitherman suggests this is where the term talking white comes from, because African Americans back then didn't talk how European Americans did. They had their own English, and that's what their offspring spoke, and that's what their offspring spoke generations down the line, and that's how black English still is prevalent today. However, she's not saying that all African Americans talk like this or identify themselves with this type of language. What she's saying is that black people are not associating intelligence with a color. It's more of an identity thing. Culture is wrapped up in the way they talk. They sing, they mourn, they're happy through their language. Even if you go to an African American church, most likely the pastor is going to be using African American English. And it's a lot of stereotypical things that's wrapped up behind the language. If African American talks a certain way, they often portray them like they often get portrayed as being ignorant or not knowing, and that's not the case. That's just how they identify themselves. They're just as qualified as anyone else. It's just their language that they choose to speak is different. I've invited some of my counterparts to reflect on this situation. The first person I decided to interview is this boy by the name of Josh Simpson. He has a lot of opinions surrounding code switching. Code switching, for those of you who don't know, is when you talk two different dialects. One dialect you talk when you're more in a relaxed environment, and one you talk in a professional environment. And some people in the African American community disagrees with that. They feel like they should be able to talk one way because their form of English is not subordinate. It's just their form of English.
Code switching. I never understood the term. Like, why do I need to change myself to make you feel comfortable? Like, I'm not going to walk into a classroom and be like, "Hi, my name is Josh." Or a teacher might be taking attendance and he calls on the student's name and the student responds by saying, "Hi, I'm present." I'm going to say, "What's up? I'm here." I'm not going to change myself to make you feel comfortable. And if you can't accept that about me, then you could be dismissed.
Allegra, she's a Caucasian, but she identifies herself with African American English because that's what she grew up around. That's who she identifies herself with.
I'm Allegra. I'm a Caucasian. I go to a four-year university, and I talk a certain way, and people may be surprised by how I talk, but this is who I am. And I grew up with African Americans. This is how I was raised, and I identify myself with African Americans. So whether or not my dialect is on tact or however, this is who I am, and it shouldn't determine how well I was educated or not.
Another student by the name of Ashley, she's of darker skin color. People often mistake her as being black, but she's not. She's Hispanic, and people expect her to talk in the African American English, and she doesn't, and it's annoying to her sometimes.
My name is Ashley Milan, and I'm a Hispanic female. My experiences when it comes to language is when I speak to Caucasians or African Americans, I'm expected to speak slang or gangster or sound uneducated, whereas opposed to all of that, yo hablo español más que yo hablo inglés. And that's my standard of language. people should not be judged based on the way that they speak, whereas more on their morals, their values, their ethics, as opposed to anything else.
So much of culture and identity is wrapped around language. We really have to be careful how we approach it. By telling someone, oh, your language is invalid, it's subordinate form of English, can be really offensive. Because someone says what up or fo instead of for, that doesn't mean they don't understand the same things you do. It's just how they choose to speak.